I'm Antonio Centeno, the founder of Real Men Real Style. Today I'm going to be talking about the four components of individual style. All right, component number one is your physical build. Component number two is both your physical and your social environment. Component number three are your resources, and this is both time and money. And component number four, these are your personal wants. Okay, so let me go ahead and go and do a little bit of detail about each of them. Component number one, your physical build. Now, this is what you were born with, how big you are, how tall you are, how wide you are. There are certain things that you can control and do fluctuate throughout your life. Usually your weight in terms of how wide you're going to get. Some of us are skinny because we were born that way and we eat and take care of our bodies. There are some of us, in fact, many in this country, that we're just a little bit bigger. And in that case, you need to choose clothing which complements your build. Now, when it comes to height, whether you're short or whether you're taller than average, you want to look for clothing that, in some cases, you want it to make you look taller. Other times you're really tall and you don't necessarily want to look shorter, but you want to look more proportioned. And that's probably the key point, is making sure you choose clothing which makes you look more proportional. And that's all about balance. That's about you understanding that if you're tall and really skinny, you don't want clothing that's going to make you look any taller and skinnier. You want clothing that is going to, in a sense, give you a little bit of weight, cut you down the size, and make you look more proportional, make you look more normal. If you're short and stout, there isn't anything out there that is going to make you look tall and thin. But you can choose clothing which isn't going to make you look fat. And that's where you go for monochromatic looks, where you go for combinations that don't cut you in half and draw attention to your midsection. Okay, component number two. This is your physical and social environment. So your individual style oftentimes is determined, and we'll start with the social, because this is something you've got to look at where you're at in your life, who you hang out with, and what social circles you run in. Now, I live in rural Wisconsin, so I can tell you I'm pretty much surrounded by farmers. I have to dress down, even though I'm a custom clothier, because in order to not really alienate, I can't be wearing a suit. So I choose to wear raw denim, I wear Western boots, I oftentimes throw on a sports jacket, but I rarely ever wear a tie. And for me, this is my personal style, and it is influenced by who I'm surrounded by. I bet, if I lived in New York City, I would have to step up my game quite a bit, but I don't. So that's how the social circle, or the social circles I run in addition to, the physical location, all play into being. And when I was talking more physical, I'm also talking the weather. So if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, you need to choose clothing and go with styles which are going to be cool and functional in that hot weather. Now, let's say you're up in Vancouver, Canada. Totally different environment. You get a lot of wet weather up there. It's a lot cooler. The summers are very mild. The winters are pretty harsh. Not as bad, though, as I can tell you. Let's say you're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Those winters, just wow. We're talking negative 20, negative 30 degrees. And if you're going to be out, let's say you, in the case you're a Minnesotan, you need to invest in some really nice outerwear, something that is going to not only be functional and keep you warm, but something that, if that's what people see you in often. And let's move over to a city like Chicago. There's a lot of people in the city of Chicago which commute and use public transportation. In this city, probably more than Minneapolis, you're going to want to have clothing that is great for outerwear and is going to do a good job protecting you. But Chicago, again, what I'm getting at is we're moving from city to city, but you need to pay attention to the environment, and that's going to have an effect, because you're not going to want to add a trench coat to your wardrobe if you're down in the desert and you're never going to be able to get anywhere, and if it doesn't really make sense from protecting you from a rain shower or something like that. But if you're in an environment in which it suits you, then you're going to want to add it to your wardrobe. So again, that was paying attention to both your physical and the social circles that you run in. All right, the third component of individual style is your resources. This really comes down to how much time do you have and how much money. And I'll use an extreme example for each. Students. anyone that is going through school or hasn't yet made a career, somebody that's just starting off in life, usually you don't have much when it comes to money. And in this case, you want to be looking for items that you can afford. And I'm not saying to buy cheap items. Don't buy disposable pieces that you're going to throw away. Instead, you're going to have to look at secondhand stores. You're going to have to really keep your eye out for sales. And that's because you have a lot more time than you have money. Now let's take a lawyer, one that's very successful, one that is incredibly busy, works 80 hours a week. Now, for this man, he doesn't have time, and he wants to, instead, he would rather trade a bit of money to get exactly what he wants. So in this case, he doesn't mind going in paying full retail, but at the same time, he doesn't want to waste his money. So this man should also be looking at timeless classic pieces, which are going to last him a long time, but yet he's probably going to pay a little bit more because he doesn't have weeks or months or years to spend going through thrift stores trying to build up his wardrobe. The last component in individual style is your personal wants. Now, notice I said wants, not needs. Oftentimes, don't confuse the two. This is where you're going to experiment a bit. This is where you want to incorporate things which are a little bit, they're not always within the classic realm. And these are things, to have a little bit of fun. And this is where I highly advise, if you're young, to experiment, go try things. I mean, who knows? It may turn into your signature style. You want to try a hat? It's better to try it young than to, I'm not saying if you're 70 years old and you want to start wearing a hat, go ahead, go for it. I'm just saying that experiment and go out there and find what you think is going to, complement you, and don't be afraid to go out there and try that. But, when it comes to personal style wants, I did put this at the end because I do believe a man needs to build up a core wardrobe based off the other components first. And he's going to find that by paying attention to those other components, he's still going to have a wide range of options. Just because you live down in Arizona doesn't mean that, yes, you're probably not going to need a heavy overcoat. But there are so many other things that you can look to add into your personal wardrobe that men up in really cold climates can't. You can start looking at headwear, which is functional for the heat. You can bring in, types of safari shirts or types of linen trousers that those men just can't pull off, but you can wear, 10 months out of the year. Okay, so that's the 4 components of individual style, and I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and go ahead and check out Real Men, Real Style. Look throughout the website. Hopefully there's a lot more information out there, and best of luck to you. Bye-bye.